Hey there, happy Wednesday. I'm Hillary. This is your 4-Minute Buzz, and here are some of today's top stories. Yesterday, President Biden held a 2-hour-long video call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. While we still don't know all the details of the call, the White House elaborated on some of it. The call took place after tensions flared up between Russia and Ukraine, and rumors spread that Russia could invade. According to White House officials, Biden reiterated his support for Ukraine's sovereignty, and he warned Putin that, quote, the things we did not do in 2014 when Russia invaded Crimea, we are prepared to do now. Specifically, a White House statement mentioned, quote, strong economic and other measures in the event of military escalation. So will Russia invade Ukraine? Well, here's what National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told the press.
Their assessment so far was that Putin had not made a decision over whether to invade Ukraine. So did President Biden get clarity from him on whether or not that is his intention?
We still do not believe that President Putin has made a decision. What President Biden did today was lay out very clearly the consequences if he chooses to move. He also laid out an alternative path that is fundamentally in keeping with the basic principles and propositions that have guided America in the Euro-Atlantic area for the past 70 years. And ultimately, we will see in the days ahead through actions, not through words, what course of action Russia chooses to take.
And another big area of debate during the conflict has been Russia's Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Here's what Sullivan claimed about the pipeline's role in negotiations.
When it comes to Nord Stream 2, the fact is that gas is not currently flowing through the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which means that it's not operating, which means that it's not leverage for Putin. Indeed, it is a leverage for the West, because if Vladimir Putin wants to see gas flow through that pipeline, he may not want to take the risk of invading Ukraine.
But Senator Ted Cruz wasn't so convinced. Here's what he told Congress about what might happen instead.
Joe Biden was sworn into office on January 20th of 2021. 4 days later, January 24th, Putin began building the pipeline again. 4 days later. Why? Because the Biden White House made the decision to waive the sanctions on Nord Stream 2 and to give Vladimir Putin a multi-billion-dollar gift for generations to come. And in doing so, to set the stage for the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. When Biden waived sanctions on Nord Stream 2, Ukraine and Poland both said it was creating a security crisis in Europe, that it was increasing dramatically the chances that Russia would invade Ukraine. This invasion that we are facing the very real prospect of is Joe Biden's fault, but you know what? It is also the fault of Senate Democrats.
And the White House is reportedly preparing a contingency plan to evacuate American citizens from Ukraine if Russia does invade. But after the disaster in Afghanistan, many want to know, would things be different this time? Well, here's how Press Secretary Jen Psaki put it.
Are there any lessons that were learned during the mass evacuation in Afghanistan that are already being heeded this time around as you begin contingency planning?
I think it's really important for people not to compare the two. I mean, you can ask any question you want, but Afghanistan was a war zone. We were at war for 20 years. What we're talking about here is a situation we are trying to work to de-escalate and move towards a diplomatic path, but it is not a comparable situation in our view.
I'm Hillary. That's your 4-Minute Buzz. Now here's
right.
Glenn and Stu to start the show.
No, she's right.
Not
It's
comparable.
Not comparable at all. This holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It's a Built bar. Better than a candy bar.
Is that ruby chocolate?
This is, I get my glasses. I'm not sure.
I think that's what that is, and I don't know what ruby chocolate is.
Yeah, ruby chocolate cheesecake.
Can we get a little taste test here?
Oh no. Mm-hmm.
Now that's like the marshmallow.
This is their
one.
puff.
Yeah, they're called
gosh,
puffs.
So good.
What's the chocolate flavor? It's kind of like a berry-ish.
Yeah, it's like a marshmallow cheesecake with berry compote on it.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
It is. It is. I'm having a little celebration in my mouth right now.
Well, as you're doing that, you can let people know that BECK15 is the code to use. You'll get 15% off your order. Use the promo code BECK15 for 15% off at built.com. It's built.com. My thought was maybe if I read that, you'd have time to finish chewing the last bite, but you just put another bite in your mouth.
Another bite in. Show's going to be late a couple minutes.
Okay.
This is delicious.
Built.com. The code is BECK15.
What you are about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Well, I think we showed him a thing or two. Yeah, that's right. Have you even seen the first minute of the Putin-Biden phone conversation? Oh my gosh, why would we release this? They didn't release it. We released this. It is so humiliating. And you can see on Putin's face, he knows exactly who and what he's dealing with. We're gonna stop there. Also, we talked to Mr. Rittenhouse yesterday, Kyle Rittenhouse. He is going to be on the TV show tonight. I met him for the first time. We sat down and we recorded tonight's TV show. I'm going to play cuts of it. I've got a lot to say about Kyle Rittenhouse. He is not who the media is making him out to be. In fact, I don't even think he is the guy I thought he was. He's a fascinating dude. We'll talk about that coming up. First, Putin and Biden in 60 seconds.
Glenn Beck Program.
I'm reading all kinds of stuff today about how inflation, the new numbers come out on Friday. We have 6.2% inflation. That's at a 30-year high. They're expecting it to be up at 6.7% inflation. But it's transitory until it's not. And they announced last week that it's not. Saw another thing that said people are running out of money. You remember the big thing was Americans have more money than they've ever had before in the bank. All of it's gone now. And everybody is feeling this inflation. You need to save money? Please call American Financing. They've been helping people just like you for over 20 years. Salary-based mortgage consultants that work for you, not the bank. And they can help you save hundreds of dollars a month, maybe as much as $1,000 a month. We don't know what the future holds. But we can look at what's happening right now and kind of guess next year might be a little rough. The only lender I trust to do the job right, to save you money, is American Financing. Call American Financing now, 800-906-2440 or AmericanFinancing.net.
American Financing, NMLS 182334, www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
And Vladimir Putin, what do you want for Christmas? Well, I'd maybe like to take Ukraine back. Well, I'd have to see if Joe Biden was asleep at the switch. Of course he is. He always is. Let me play, and if you happen to be watching The Blaze, it's worth putting down your coffee or whatever and watching Vladimir Putin's face during this. But listen how this started. Joe Biden didn't have his mic on. So like an old grandpa, he's like fiddling with the dials. I'm just looking at the dial, trying to fiddle with it. Is this micro? Hello? Oh my gosh, watch.
Приветствую вас, господин президент.
There you go. Hello.
Добрый день.
Good to see you again. Unfortunately, last time we didn't get to see one another.
Now watch. This is from his point of view, looking right at Putin.
There you go. Hello.
With him smiling and looking off to the side.
Good to see you again. Unfortunately,
watch how
last time
dismissive
we didn't get to see one another at the G20. I hope next time we meet, we do it in person.
Do you see that expression? Like, maybe. We'll see. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Putin is an evil dude, and remember, he is. If you watch videos of him, his gun hand, when he was a KGB agent for so long, when he walks, both hands don't swing like a normal person walking. Only one hand swings because he was trained to keep his hand where the revolver is, and he's still the KGB strongman. He is way ahead of us and knows exactly what the deal is. When Joe Biden got into office, believe it or not, all this damage has been done in 1 year. When he first got into office on January 20th, one of the first things he did was allow the pipeline to be built from Russia into Europe. Now, if Donald Trump would have done that on one of his first days, would we not all be screaming? I know I would have. Whoa! Is there a deal being brokered here? How come that's happening on one of the first days? That's a very, very big deal. If Donald Trump would have done that, they would have used that as proof he was in bed with Vladimir Putin. But nary a peep out of anyone. So you know, this pipeline is the pipeline that Ronald Reagan warned about. It's been a very big deal for a very long time. So Joe Biden gets in. One of the first things he does, hey, let him build the pipeline. What's the big deal? Poland and Ukraine get on the phone and say, you can't do that. Don't do that. That makes him more likely to invade our nations. That's crazy talk. We got him over the barrel. Do you? How do you? He started building the pipeline 4 days after the inauguration of Joe Biden. 4 days. And now he's sitting there with all of the cards. He's got Poland. He has Ukraine. He has Europe. He can squeeze the lifeblood out of them this holiday season, this winter when it's freezing cold and everybody in the West is like, we got to do something about global warming. Let's turn off the nuclear power plants that have nothing to do with global warming and are the safest kind of energy the world has ever invented. Let's turn those off. So as we're turning everything off, he's pumping more oil in. And we're somehow or another going to stop him? We're going to stop him. Please play the cut of the National Security Advisor, Biden's message to Putin, cut 6.
Their assessment so far was that Putin had not made a decision over whether to invade Ukraine. So did President Biden get clarity from him on whether or not that is his intention?
We still do not believe that President Putin has made a decision. What President Biden did today was lay out very clearly the consequences if he chooses to move. He also laid out an alternative path that is fundamentally in keeping with the basic principles and propositions that have guided America in the Euro-Atlantic area for the past 70 years.
Okay.
And ultimately, we will see in the days ahead through actions, not through words, what course of action Russia chooses to take.
Well, he laid it out. You do that, there are going to be economic ramifications for Vladimir Putin, and don't laugh that off. I mean, in just a few short months, Joe Biden has almost destroyed our economy. Imagine if he really sets his mind to Russia. I mean, it's insane It's insane. He's carrying a small stick and barking loudly. He does the opposite. You know, Donald Trump was the least warmongering president I've seen in my lifetime. Every president has talked the same game except for Donald Trump. And not saying that they all wanted war, but they all played the State Department's game. And we played the same game over and over and over. The only one that kind of broke it was Ronald Reagan. And he spooked the hell out of the Russians, caused them to spend all kinds of money, scared the hell out of them. And what happened? They collapsed. We had peace. Donald Trump played this expertly. Because is there any doubt in your mind that if Putin or China or anybody else would have really done something against our national interests, that he would have gone in balls to the wall? No doubt in my mind, Donald Trump would push the button. He would execute a plan and he would win. However, if it's not in our national interest, he's not going in. He wouldn't be going into Ukraine if Russia attacks. So if you're not going to go in, what do? You have to carry a big stick. You want peace, you carry a big stick, and you have a twitchy eye. And you're like, don't do it. Don't do it, man. Don't. Because man, holy cow, my eye is twitching and my hand is kind of vibrating on the button right now. I just might do it. And that's what keeps people like Putin at bay. Not Joe Biden. Joe Biden, you know, he gave them what they wanted, the Nord Stream pipeline. He did it even when Ukraine and Poland were screaming, please don't do that. He did it anyway because he knew better. Then what was his second mistake? His second mistake was Afghanistan. When he pulls out of Afghanistan, screws all of our allies, NATO almost falls apart. He looks completely weak. That's his second problem. His third problem is there were no repercussions for anyone on Afghanistan. He still thinks it was fine. There was no repercussion for anybody in the Pentagon. Do you trust your kids to be a soldier under this regime with the people in the Pentagon? I've always said, you know, the president is the president, but the Pentagon, they're at least competent. I don't believe that anymore. I believe the soldiers are the military, but the people they take their commands from, they're morons. Morons. So yesterday they were asked, so are we planning for evacuation in case he does something in Ukraine and we can get the Americans out? You know what the White House responded with? Not the same situation. No, I mean, we don't have to plan those things. You know, we've got contingency plans on everything. No, you don't. No, you don't, because you knew what was coming in Afghanistan and you didn't do it. The question, follow up, did you learn any lessons from Afghanistan? Let's not confuse these two. I mean, Afghanistan required us to quickly get Americans out of a war zone. And this is nothing like that. If Russia invades, it would be us getting Americans out of a war zone. So I think you can see they just don't compare. Putin, if Putin goes in, God forbid this country goes to war. If Putin goes in, you better have some tough damn sanctions because you just sold the freedom of an entire country out For what, Joe? For what? What did you get from Russia by okaying this pipeline? I don't think his son was an artist yet, so I don't know if he sold any art. But what was it that we as the United States got in exchange for that, besides the loss of freedom for an entire country? And if he does invade, I can guarantee you Taiwan will be next. And then we are a nobody country. A nobody country. And I don't have a problem with not being the world's policeman. I actually kind of like that. Be nice to kick up your feet once in a while and be Canada. Not have to worry about everybody else. But I'm telling you, we're the world's reserve currency. When we are nothing, so is our money. And that's when, well, let me just put it this way. It'll be good by 2030 because you'll own nothing. And you'll like it. Build back better. Tim lives in Maine. He writes in about his dog Sugar and her experience with rough greens after being a picky eater. He says, I've been using rough greens for close to 2 years now. Sugar's almost 10 and has a better appetite than I've seen in 3 years. Thank you, rough greens. Boy, I didn't mean to say that Sugar was a girl dog. I don't know. I don't know what her pronouns are. She could identify as a wolf, a she dog, or a he dog. I don't know. But Tim, thank you for taking such good care of it. Sounds like Sugar's living a much happier and healthier life. So is Uno. He identifies as a male, a big German Shepherd. Put your neck into his entire mouth and just squeeze, kind of alpha male German Shepherd. And he likes that, especially if he thinks your throat is a squeeze toy. Rough Greens is not a dog food. It's something you put on the dog food. It's a supplement filled with all the things that makes your dog healthier and happier. Most dogs love it. Uno adores it, wolfs it down. He is happier, healthier, full of energy, just like Sugar. Free bag of Rough Greens for your dog to try out. All you do is pay for the shipping. Just see if your dog likes it at roughgreens.com/Beck. Free bag, pay for shipping, roughgreens.com/Beck, or call 833-GLEN-33. 833-GLEN-33, roughgreens.com/Beck. 10 seconds, station ID. Oh, man. Well, the commission is back. The Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court. And they voted unanimously in favor of approving their final report and sending it to President Biden's desk. So what did these 34 experts, which held 6 public meetings, called 44 witnesses. Stu, what could they have possibly said?
They said they didn't really come up with anything.
That's exactly right. They said out of the 34 people, given the size and nature of the commission and the complexity of the issues addressed, individual members of the commission would have written the report with different emphasis and approaches. But the commission submits this report today in the belief that it represents a fair and constructive treatment of the complex and also often highly controversial issues it was charged with examining. No serious person in either major political party suggests court packing as a means of overturning disliked Supreme Court decisions, whether the decision is in question is Roe versus Wade or Citizens United. Scholars could say, until very recently, that even as compared to other court reform efforts, court packing is especially out of bounds. That's part of the Convention of Judicial Independence. But the commission has decided to take no position on the validity or strength of those claims. Okay, so we got 34 experts together, and they have come back and said, you know what? We're just going to give you the arguments. You decide. We can't.
I'm in the wrong business. That's what you need to do. You get a nice long commission. You take your time. You do a bunch of meetings. You come back at the end, say we didn't figure anything out. Sorry. That's fantastic.
Get a government job. That's all government jobs. And then you can't blame it on us because we said both things. We said both things.
Now, this was never a legitimate commission in the first place, right? I mean, this was always Joe Biden's out to not have to deal with this issue, to not have to say to his own base that we're not going to pack the court, and to not have to say to potential moderate voters, we are going to pack the court, right? So we're going to do a commission. We're going to talk about all these issues. We're going to figure it out, see what we should do going forward. And then, of course, there was nothing there. There never was anything there. This is a horrible idea from the start.
Let's see what happens if they overturn Roe versus Wade, because this will be the thing. We've got to change the court.
Court packing will become very fashionable.
Be very fashionable, and I don't know that will go well with the American people. The American people are much more in favor of Mississippi's abortion rules than the rules that the Democrats want, which is no limits.
Polling on this issue is terrible because both sides can find things that completely support their view. I've looked at a lot of this polling over the years and had to analyze it many, many times. What you really see when it comes to the polling is that Americans don't want abortion to be completely illegal, but they want it to be less available than it is now.
Rare and safe.
Yeah, safe, legal, and rare. I mean,
that's what they want.
But it's important to note, not legal like it is now. They want it to be more restricted than it is now. They just don't want it to be completely eliminated for whatever terrible reason.
Correct. And that's the American people are on the side of reason and common sense in almost every way. It's why we used to have presidents go back to the center and go and govern from middle ground and common sense. Because that's where the American people live, not at these wild extremes.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Not that saving babies is extreme. That should be on our to-do list every day. Our financial overlords have seen to it that meat is now a luxury item. Not only is the price crazy, but half the time when you go into the store, all the good stuff is already gone. So skip past the expense and the hassle and go to Omaha Steaks. Every food item from Omaha Steaks is delicious. Their steaks, which are aged to perfection, are amazing. They're juicy, they're fork tender, exactly what you're looking for in a steak. And they're affordable. Take advantage of this rare situation, omahasteaks.com, and enter the promo code BECK in the search bar, and you're going to find the perfect gift package along with other specials going on. For $99, 24 entrees, the world-famous bacon-wrapped filet mignons, the chicken breast, sides, desserts, so much more. Plus, you'll get 8 additional Omaha Steak burgers free with your order. omahasteaks.com, promo code BECK in the search bar, omahasteaks.com. Oh, I'm so full of joy. I went Christmas shopping last night for my wife for Christmas. Oh, it was delightful. Delightful. Wonderful. Wonderful. Didn't get a damn thing. Everything do you have this in a size? No. Okay. How about this one? No. Do you have this in a size? No. How about this in a black? Oh, no. I mean, it just...
A supply chain thing or?
Supply chain thing.
Jeez.
Supply chain thing. And the guy told me, he said, you know what the real problem is people are coming in and they're buying things in sizes that they know are wrong, but they're just buying them because they want to put something under the Christmas tree and they figure, well, she can exchange it for the right size when her ship comes in.
Yeah. If it ever does.
If it ever comes in. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And most people are really having a hard time. I kind of actually like this because we've way downscaled Christmas this year. Just way downscaled it. We're doing, we're giving gifts to other people and whatever, and not in the family. We're just keeping it very, very simple, which is nice.
Should we be, Pat and I, expecting something nice or?
Nope. Nope.
So that's the part of the Christmas you've scaled down.
Are you needy?
Yes.
You're not getting a darn thing. Not a darn thing. You know what you can get? socks from shop.blazemedia.com. Socks. We have the new.
Can I get them? Are we selling those?
We are selling.
How do you know?
I know. I don't. I just.
How do you know we're selling
So these
those?
are the Let's Go Brandon socks.
Yeah.
And have you actually seen them yet?
Yeah, well, I've seen them from the email, 49 emails I got yesterday.
No, they're fantastic. Now, some might look at the Let's Go. Can you bring that full screen again? Some might look at the Let's Go Brandon one on the far right and say, why is there a butt and then poop on that?
That was my question as well.
Was it?
When they gave them to me and they said, look at those.
Do you know what it is?
I did find out when I asked.
Yeah, you have to ask. But do you know? Can you figure it out? That's from Biden's trip to see the Pope.
Biden pooped his pants.
Oh, the rumor that he pooped his pants.
Was it a rumor?
Like Al Roker did.
Well, I mean, it was a rumor until it was confirmed on these socks.
Yeah.
Now
right.
we know
we
it's
have the
true.
socks to tell us, and we didn't make them.
Right.
Sock company made them. BlazeSocks.com, BlazeSocks.com.
And sock companies can't lie.
No, they can't.
So you know it's true.
No, you know it's true.
It's fact.
Yeah. So I have Kyle Rittenhouse on tonight. I want to get to a couple of cuts with him. But I also, this is really important that we talk about something that happened in Dallas yesterday.
It's actually on the 2nd, so it was 6 days ago. But it doesn't lessen the severity of this. They're praising a canine dog because a canine dog hit on some luggage, on a passenger's luggage at Dallas Love Field. The dog, they even named the dog Ballantine, alerted on an individual checked suitcase. It turns out, get this, it turns out that the suitcase belonged to a 25-year-old woman from Chicago who was carrying $106,829 on her. And that's illegal.
We took it from her.
As you know, in the United States, it's illegal to carry cash.
No, it's not.
No, it's really.
And so they took it.
No, it's not.
So they took it. But she got it back.
No, she did not get it back.
Well, they charged her.
No, they didn't charge her with anything.
No, but they suspected.
They don't even suspect it. At least as far as the article is concerned, they don't even mention suspicion here. There's no allegation. There's no charge. There's no suspicion. A dog hit. They took. That's it.
That's insanity.
Such
especially
insanity.
If you have $100,000, I can guarantee there's some $20 bills in there that smell to a dog very much like cocaine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can I play the role here, though?
Yeah.
Well, why was she carrying $106,000 through an airport?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Very good point.
No, that doesn't. It doesn't matter. No, that doesn't.
No,
that makes no never mind.
Yeah, but what was she carrying that money for?
I don't know.
Probably
and it doesn't matter.
something nefarious.
Could be, but we don't know, so they shouldn't have taken it. No.
Yeah, well, but the dog knew.
The dog.
The dog. You hear this all the time. Serial killers. The neighbors will always say, "I didn't see anything, but my dog
smelled it."
Yeah. My dog knew. Every time he'd walk by, he'd bark. We should have taken all of the things that he had in his house. Should have done it.
Bees know, and dogs know.
Dogs know.
And so they arrested. They didn't arrest her. She's not been charged. And again, there's not even an
on vacation or wherever she was going. Have a good time.
Right.
We don't.
Right.
I mean, this
we
is
got
a little
your money
blip.
Now, see ya.
This is a little blip in the road. Go have a good time.
There's another story too in Massachusetts, where a woman lost her car. It was her son, her kid's car,
and this was
suspected of drug. He was suspected of something.
Was suspected of being
5
used
years ago, right?
By someone who was suspected in dealing in drugs.
Now, that was not proven.
Yeah.
The car was taken on March 4th, 2015. We can all celebrate. She got it back this year.
That's right.
Yeah! Wow, that's great.
She had to fight.
It only took her 5 years.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
She had to fight for it in court, and she said afterwards, the Massachusetts law allows innocent owners to seek the return of their assets unless they knew or should have known that such conveyance or real property was used in and for the business of unlawfully manufacturing, dispensing, or distributing controlled substances. But like the federal government and most states, Massachusetts requires the owners to prove their innocence. So she had to prove her innocence, and she did. And it only took her 5.5 years.
Yay!
And she She's great.
How are they getting away with this?
I know.
Over and over and over and
Because
over.
it doesn't affect most people. And most people will say, why was she carrying $100,000 around for?
Right.
Yeah. No, and
That's true.
Look, that is an odd thing to do through an airport. So what?
So what?
So
yeah,
what?
Right.
She gets to do whatever she wants with her money as long as they don't prove a case against her. This case with the car, luckily the Goldwater Institute got involved in this. It's the only reason that she got her car back.
Get the number of the Goldwater Institute and write it down and put it in your wallet, because someday you may need the Goldwater Institute.
No kidding. In the motion they say Massachusetts does not provide any deadline from which the Commonwealth is required to initiate forfeiture proceedings.
That's unbelievable.
So they could just hold on to it
That's
forever and never
unreal.
have the proceeding at all. And think about a car for a second. You have a 2015 car, and you don't have it until 2021. Number one, you have to pay for 6 years of transportation. After you already purchased a car, you have to figure out how to get yourself around for 6 years. Then you get the car back, which is now 6 years older. What happens when a car ages 6 years and it's not even being driven?
It's a classic.
It's now an antique.
It's a classic.
The value
Low
of the car
miles.
goes down. It was an Infiniti. It's now a 2011 Infiniti in 2021. Now, luckily, because of supply chain issues, it may be worth $500,000 right now. So good luck.
Here's what Elon Musk said yesterday, and this is absolutely right. He was talking about another subject, but this one goes right to asset forfeiture. Elon Musk, quote, "It doesn't make sense to take the job of capital allocation away from the people with a demonstrated great skill in capital allocation and give it to an entity that has demonstrated very poor skill in capital allocation. Think of the government as essentially a corporation to the extreme limit. The government is simply the biggest corporation with a monopoly on violence and where you have no recourse."
Amen.
It's true.
Yep. Amen.
Yep.
This is why you have small government. All right, back with some audio of the Kyle Rittenhouse interview that is going to happen tonight at 9 p.m. Stand by. Pat, hang out for a minute. Turns out buying and selling a house can really suck. Yeah, believe it or not. Big shocker. It's not as simple as exchanging a set of keys for a big fat check. On the selling end, you have inspections and repairs and remodeling. Finally, having to take care of all those things that your wife has been asking you to do for years around the place, you now actually have to do them. And then on the buying end, you don't know exactly sometimes where to look for the right house. The kitchen may look great in the pictures, but it turns out to be made of cardboard. I mean, you're going to get hungry at some point. This is why real estate agents, itrust.com came in to be. This is my company. It's a free service to you. We have gone through the country, gone through thousands, tens of thousands of agents, and we have found the 2,000 that we think are the best in your area. They have a great track record. They have the right skills. They have really high customer satisfaction ratings. We monitor them, and then if you are looking for somebody to buy or sell a house, we can help you, whether you're moving across the street or across the country. Free service to you. realestateagentsitrust.com.
There's been some talk lately about a national divorce, and that's not something that you want. Unfortunately, you may be going through a divorce with your hair, where your hair is abandoning you and leaving you forever. It's a sad, sad sort of a state of affairs. This can happen slowly. It can happen almost overnight. But the big thing is you can now do something about this. If you're starting to lose your hair, go to Keeps. Keeps offers doctor-recommended, FDA-approved hair treatments. The real deal. It's got more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. They use the generic versions of these treatments, and you can pay about half the cost. And everything is online. So if, I don't like necessarily seeing people in real life. I'm not a big fan of that. So if you happen to be down that road, you can get this done really easily. You don't have to deal with any awkward doctor's appointments. Just snap a few pictures of your hair, and a licensed doctor will review your information and recommend the right hair loss treatment for you. Then it's shipped to your door. It's that simple. If you have any questions along the way, you can message your Keeps doctor 24/7. Dealing with hair loss used to be embarrassing and tricky, but the 21st century is here, And you can now deal with Keeps and get this done easily right at your fingertips. Go to keeps.com/save for 50% off your first order. Keeps.com/save, KEEPS.com/save. Keep your hair on your head where it's supposed to be. Keeps.com/save.
So Kyle Rittenhouse is on tonight on my Wednesday night special at 9 p.m. He's a very different guy than you think he is, I think. You don't know anything about him. You know now he's not a white supremacist vigilante. You know that he has been found not guilty. But who is he really? And it was pretty profound realization to me on how much of a kid this guy is. I mean, we know he's 18 years old. He's going ready, but he is not. He's a regular kid. At 17, he had to quit school so he could go and help. He held 3 jobs so he could help pay for the rent and the food in the house because mom didn't have it.
Wow.
So he's going out of school and he's just working. He's not paying attention to politics. None of it. He only gets involved in Kenosha because that's where his dad lives.
And his friend and his aunt and uncle and cousin and a bunch of
and
family
he works there,
members.
right?
And he worked there part-time.
One of his jobs is there.
So he knows the area and that's why he was involved.
But everyone, I think tons of people went through that during that period. I remember my wife driving around like she was going to, one person defend our community when there was threats of riots going on. I mean, you see your city burning down, you feel like you need to do something.
I had a neighbor call me and say, we're all going to meet at your house if things happen. And we'll defend it from your house. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
my house is definitely the one we should defend. Yes.
Yes.
Let the other ones burn.
Right. So anyway, I talked to him about many things. Does he have nightmares? Will he ever pick up a gun again? How does he feel about guns? Him going to college. He's saying he's not going to take it online. He's going to
Arizona State.
Yeah, Arizona State, ASU. And he's enrolled and going. We also talked to him about lawsuits. And there's some interesting things on that. Let me just play this. Rittenhouse, will you ever pick up a gun again? Listen to this. Will you ever pick up a gun again?
I don't know.
What is your view of guns now?
I believe everybody has a Second Amendment right. I believe in the Constitution.
Have you touched one since?
I haven't. But other than the museum, I saw your guys' beautiful museum, and I was looking at your very old weapons you guys have.
Yeah, from the Revolutionary War.
Yes.
Yeah. So they don't scare you at all?
No.
Good.
So you put a gun back in Kyle Rittenhouse's hand. There's your headline.
Flintlock.
There you go.
He was wild with that flintlock, too.
That was interesting. Because, you get the sense. The thing about him that you notice, and you had mentioned this, that he's a teenager.
You sit across the table from him, he looks 3 years younger in real life than TV. Easy. I felt like I was sitting there talking to my son.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, but he seemingly very well trained on his firearm. Like he knew where his hands needed to be, where, he did everything right in those moments. Thank God, or he'd be in prison for the rest of his life. But he was restrained with it. He was doing the things that you're supposed to do. Look at the difference between, not to call them out, but like the people, the couple in St. Louis. Remember when people were breaking into their gated community? They're out there with fingers on the trigger out.
How about Alec Baldwin?
Alec
Baldwin, who shoots somebody and then says, "I didn't pull the trigger. It wasn't me."
Or point it. He didn't point it. He didn't point it.
It didn't pull the trigger.
And he bears no responsibility for it. So that's
that
great.
doesn't really work, Alec.
That's a bizarre claim.
Yeah, it is a really bizarre claim. But
it was interesting that someone who at 17 or 18 years old knows how to use a firearm like that, you'd think would be someone who is a big part of their life. And he doesn't, I mean, he doesn't come off there coming off like, of course, I'm going to be, doing commercials for gun companies.
No,
like
he's the opposite of that. He doesn't want all of this. I asked him, I said, so then why the media tour? Why are you speaking to everybody? He said, because I'll talk until my side is out. He said, nobody has heard my side, and I think everybody needs to hear from me.
That's great.
And he's a really thoughtful kid, but he's a kid. He's a kid. I think you'll walk away liking him more than even you may have already. But he's not somebody who wants to be the president or run for Congress or be a spokesman. He doesn't want any of that.
He's not even an activist, right? He's not leading parades down the street in protest.
No.
He's not that guy.
He's not going to become what was that guy's name? The Parkland shooter?
Pig, or what was his
Pig? I'm pretty sure it wasn't Pig.
Oh gosh,
it was.
You said Pig, and I was like, what is he talking about? No, it was David Hogg.
David Hogg.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Not David Pig.
Right.
It was David Hogg.
David Hogg, right? Yeah. It was close. I was like legitimately.
It was close.
The
It's
human
related.
brain is an amazing
Yeah,
thing.
it is.
I don't know how you got there. That was amazing.
You don't want to see his mind palace. It's a spooky place.
It is.
But he's not going to become that guy. He doesn't want to be that guy. And I hope he doesn't become that guy. I hope he can go back to school and live his life and do what he wants. He told me too. Now he was thinking about being a fireman or something like that, and he's had a career change, kind of an epiphany. And you'll hear about that and so much more tonight at 9 p.m. on Blaze TV. Don't miss it.
Hey there, happy Wednesday morning. I'm Hillary. This is your 4-Minute Buzz, and here are some more of today's top stories. Closing arguments begin today in actor Jussie Smollett's hate crime hoax trial. Smollett spoke in his own defense yesterday and claimed that the attack against him back in 2019 was real and the brothers who carried it out had other motives. But prosecutors argued that Smollett planned out the attack and lied to the police about it to garner sympathetic media coverage. The jury is set to begin deliberations after the closing arguments are made. And meanwhile, it looks like Chris Cuomo isn't out of the news yet. Recently, the New York Post reported that Cuomo is likely planning to sue CNN for breach of contract, according to sources familiar with the matter. Cuomo allegedly had a contract worth $6 million per year, and about $18 million of that was still on the table. However, sources at CNN told the Post that the network has, quote, no intention of paying Cuomo a penny. They claimed that a standard morality clause in CNN's contract clears it of any wrongdoing. And in some COVID news, another federal judge has dealt a blow to President Biden's vaccine mandate. As part of Biden's plan, all federal contractors would be required to mandate that their employees get vaccinated starting on January 4th. This would apply to nearly a quarter of the U.S. workforce. But a federal judge in Georgia blocked the mandate in response to a lawsuit from the state. And in another blow to the progressive agenda, a poll recently came out about how Latinos view the term Latinx. The term is a gender-neutral version of Latino that some activists want to popularize. But a top Democratic firm specializing in Latino outreach reached out to find the general public's opinion. Now, according to the poll, most respondents used the term Hispanic to describe themselves. In fact, only 2% identified as Latinx, and a whopping 40% said the made-up term bothers or offends them, and 30% would be less likely to vote for a politician who uses it. Well, Blaze TV Stephen Crowder recently decided to remind us which politicians have been trying to popularize it.
You tried to make Latinx a thing. Yep. You now have to own it. And just so you don't have to take my word for it, take a look. It's in a clip.
Right now is almost entirely attributable to immigration, whose Latinx community has added a tremendous amount.
So let's be clear. Folks are hunting
what happened to that
Latinx
googly-eyed guy?
Americans. LGBTQ Americans.
It's doing great for people who want to invest in private prisons, just not for the African Americans and Latinx whose families are torn apart.
It's awful hard as well to get Latinx vaccinated.
Oh, that's different.
Why?
That's a little different there.
They're worried that they'll be vaccinated and deported.
The way he says it sounds like drain cleaner.
Yeah.
Hey, can you get the Latinx and I shaved my balls in the shower? It's
Just talking about Hunter's hard drive.
Yes.
Not a joke.
Get him a team.
Latinx. And I love how she didn't know how to pluralize it. She's like, oh, the Latinx. Was it Latinxes? What is it? Because you screwed up the Romance languages. It doesn't make any sense. Hispanics hate you.
All right, lastly, it looks like billionaire Elon Musk isn't a fan of Biden's Build Back Better agenda. He recently joined the Wall Street Journal CEO Council Summit, and while many other business leaders are on board with Biden's plans, here's what Musk recommended Biden should do.
Honestly, I would just can this whole bill. Don't pass it. That's my recommendation.
What about the support though for the charging network? I mean, there are parts of this bill and no.
No, I mean, do we need support for gas stations? We don't. So there's no need for this for support for a charging network. I would delete it. Delete.
Okay, all right.
I'm literally saying get rid of all subsidies.
She didn't really know how to respond to that. I'm Hillary. That's your 4-Minute Buzz. Here's Glenn and Stu with the second hour of the show.
Well, he's an interesting dude. He's an interesting dude because he took subsidies.
Yeah,
so
built
we'll
a company on them.
Yeah.
He's just saying now he doesn't want them, which is good. It's a good step.
So people always ask me all the time, Glenn, do you really believe in the clients you talk about on the air? This is a picture of me. I just have to show it here on my iPad. This is a picture of me. This is our backyard. And that is the new product I'm going to talk to you about. And I was using it before I knew they were going to be a client of mine.
That's cool.
My Fireside. It is, there is something about sitting around the fire at night with your family. We don't share those times anymore. And there is something about a real fire that you can see. And My Fireside is this beautiful, solid, durable, heavy-duty stainless steel fire pit. And you can choose, custom sides for it, but you see the fire through it, and that is really important. So, whether you want to see your fire through Let's Go Brandon or the American flag or whatever it is you want, plus 3% of the sales go to Semper Fi and America's Fund. Go to myfireside.com.
What you are about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Some breaking news. Pfizer says 3 doses of their vaccine will improve protection against Omicron. So that's good. That's good news, I guess. Just take 3 of those doses. And it won't stop it. It'll protect you, so it'll be a little bit better. So you won't feel those flu-like symptoms. That's all you have to do. Just take 3 of the doses, and you won't feel the flu-like symptoms. Okay. We have more on that because Stu, I just made Stu very angry. He's like,
not at all. Not at all. Covering the news well, as usual.
Also, I want to talk to you about the banks. Wow, it's really interesting what Citi just decided to do. Citibank, it's almost like the Great Reset isn't a hoax. The news on what the bank is doing now in 60 seconds.
The Glenn Beck Program.
Imagine if you were literally paying somebody, overpaying them, in fact, to come into your home every day and beat you over the head with a club. Believe it or not, that's pretty much what you're doing if you're getting your cell phone service through big mobile companies like Verizon and AT&T, because they charge you through the nose, then they hit you over the head with their woke nonsense and their contributions to evil causes, like Planned Parenthood. Hey, come on in. Is that you, Big Mobile? Come on in with that big club and beat me over the head. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative mobile provider. They offer broad, nationwide coverage. In fact, they're on the same cell towers as all the major carriers. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, and their 100% U.S.-based customer service support team provides exceptional service. More importantly, Patriot Mobile. They share your values and support organizations fighting for religious freedom and constitutional rights. So get great service, a fraction of the cost, and not get clubbed over the head every month by Big Mobile. It's patriotmobile.com/Beck or call 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT or patriotmobile.com/Beck. Okay, this is going to be really good. Now, Stu, how would you describe what I said ESG scores were going to mean in the banking industry?
ESG, environment,
governance,
and social justice, right? That's the ESG, what they stand for. And the basic concept, and I know you go into much more depth on this in your new book, The Great Reset, which is coming out in January. But in the
I'm looking for a general, what your take is on that.
Basic concept is you just being a profitable business is not enough. You need to hit these standards that make the world better by their view. And the ESG standard is like basically going to give you a score. Do you do the things that essentially the left wants you to do with your business or even in your personal life? So if you are, for example, buying a gas guzzler car, your ESG score would be lower. If you're donating to anti-LGBTQ causes, you would be seen as that would be a negative in your ESG score. And so these things would punish you, and maybe you would get rejected by banks. Maybe you wouldn't get the loans, the banking services you need. Maybe you get higher rates.
That's crazy.
That's
it. That's it. But remember, that's crazy. Because I said this about Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch is now posting ESG scores. Your ESG score. Did you know you had one?
Posting it?
Posting it.
What does that mean, posting?
Posting it. You go sign into your Merrill Lynch account and you will see your ESG score.
Oh my God.
Based on what you are investing in. Okay? So if you want your ESG score to go up, you better reallocate some of the money and get out of some of these brown industries.
Right. And then you get this thing that goes on where people now will start lobbying to have positive ESG. This is happening with nuclear energy right now, where they're trying to get nuclear energy to be a good thing for your ESG
because
score.
It is.
Because it is, at least for the environmental part of that, no emissions and everything. And they want to develop new nuclear energy, but they can't do it until they get this
ESG score,
this stamp of approval from the ESG masters.
Okay, so back in March, I said Merrill Lynch had put this up, and they were going to use this now to start judging you. Merrill Lynch and Bank of America responded immediately, the fastest response to anything I've ever seen in anything we've ever done. It was an immediate response. And they said, many of our self-directed clients have expressed an interest in applying an ESG lens to investment opportunities. And I'll define ESG lens in a second, but a lot of clients say they want to look at investments that they're considering making and looking at them through the lens of environmental, social, and governance information. And this is just to help them assess the opportunities and the risks if they want to. It's completely optional. These ratings are available. Not everybody uses them, but they have absolute no impact on any individual's credit or the ability to access any of our other services at all. Okay, that was back in March. Now that's Bank of America. Let me give you this story from Citigroup today in Bloomberg. Citigroup will eventually expect borrowers to have a credible plan for measuring and reducing their carbon footprint as part of the bank's pledge to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions. So they have made a promise to the globe. I promise you, that we're gonna have zero net emissions on all the loans that we make. We will not hurt Big Blue. We're not gonna do it, who loves his earth. So, for them to have no emissions, zero net emissions, that means they can't loan any money out to people who are investing in brown industries. What's your ESG score? Who are you investing in? Because we can't invest in you if you're investing in anything brown. The firm says they are still formulating plans for how it will go about pulling off its pledge. Chief Executive Officer Jane Fraser said Tuesday at the Wall Street Journal CEO Council Conference, when asked how the firm would respond to a natural gas driller looking for a 30-year loan to build infrastructure, Fraser said, well, it'll start with a conversation. If they don't have a credible plan and they're not able to come up with targets and metrics and disclosures, then it'll be a shorter conversation. Citigroup's climate plans are a key push for Fraser, who made the pledge to achieve net zero emissions by 2050 on her first day. Fraser was one of the many financiers who descended on Glasgow earlier this year for a climate summit, where she called for global leaders to set consistent sustainability standards that would make it easier for clients to invest in green projects. She said her firm isn't a fan of the idea of simply asking clients to dispose of any so-called brown assets, which would just shift the problem to a new owner. She cautioned that banks also have to consider the ramifications of quickly pulling support for carbon-laden industries without any backup plan. If we're shutting down a lot of brown assets in certain communities, and then we're not providing alternative employment sources and driving finances into local entrepreneurs and building out the alternatives, this is going to be a very unpleasant and socially unpleasant transition that we all have to go through. No, we actually don't all have to go through that. No, you're deciding, you and those of you in Davos, this is the Davos plan. You know, you always say, oh, man, they're all just these great guys going to the ski resort, talk about money and things. And it's great that they're all getting together in Davos. The Great Reset, is from Davos. It is the Davos plan. I don't know about you, but I haven't been invited to Davos in quite a long time. Oh, in fact, never. Have you? Your voice isn't being heard in this. You're just going to have to go through that really socially unpleasant transition that we all have to go through. Because why? Why do we have to go through this? Oh, that's right. Because they've decided. You don't have a say in it. So when they said, we're not going to do this, on loans, that's ridiculous. It's not going to have an effect on anybody. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is one step closer now to the Great Reset. This is one step closer to you not being able to get a loan for something you want to do. And if you want to buy a dirty old house, oh my gosh, what are your plans to make sure that that's a greenhouse? What are your plans to make sure that that doesn't take all that oil to heat that house? I mean, we'll help you. You just have to take out a loan, to make sure you do all that. Oh, that might be a loan you can't afford. Then maybe you shouldn't have the house. But we can sell it to somebody like BlackRock who has the money. And they have the credibility with the bank to be able to turn that into a green house. And then you can rent it from them. See how this is working? It's insanity. But let me give you this from the New York Times. I love this. Saul Omarova, a Cornell Law School professor whom critics painted as a communist after President Biden picked her for a key banking regulator job. She withdrew from consideration for the post on Tuesday. In a letter to the White House.
That's sad, by the way. That's sad.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, because we talked so much about her, and it didn't seem like anybody else knew anything about her.
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
There was nobody else talking about it.
This audience by itself basically made this one happen, and thank God it did.
She is, you just look up some of her hit quotes. I'm just going to read what the New York Times said about her. In a letter to the White House, Ms. Omarova said it was no longer tenable for her to seek the position of comptroller of the currency. Mr. Biden, who said Ms. Omarova had lived the American dream by escaping her birthplace in the former Soviet Union. I'm sorry, did she escape? No, she was over here on an educational visa. She was over here when the Soviet Union fell. So she didn't escape. In fact, she loved the Soviet Union. She thought it was a pretty great place. She would have brought invaluable insight and perspective to our important work on behalf of the American people, he said. But unfortunately, from the very beginning of her nomination, Saul was subjected to inappropriate personal attacks that were far beyond the pale. Oh, my gosh. What were some of those personal attacks, Stu?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I first of all, the New York Times in their tweet about this story, I think nailed it. They said she's a Cornell law professor whom President Biden picked for a key banking regulator job. She's withdrawing. Bank lobbyists and Republicans painted her as a communist because she was born in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, it's xenophobia.
It was just because she was born there. Now, it's weird because I don't remember painting Melania Trump as a communist because she was born in the Soviet Union.
But you thought it. That's a dog whistle, Stu.
Really?
Yeah, we all thought it. Dog whistle, dog whistle.
I don't remember
Melania,
thinking it at all.
Communist!
Right.
That's what we were all thinking.
No, we actually were like, this is an amazing story. A woman who was born in the
Why
Soviet
isn't
Union.
this a big deal?
Right. It's
Somebody
an
should say
incredible.
that.
And no one seemed to care about it at all, including the New York Times.
Well, the New York Times might have had a little bit in their dog whistle racism and xenophobia. You know, they might have thought, well, if Melania is with Donald Trump, of course he has an affinity to Russia because she's a communist. Ms. Omarova faced months of criticism from Republicans and bank lobbyists who cast her as a threat to the American economy. Lobbyists began to oppose her almost as soon as her nomination was announced, saying she wanted to replace the banking industry's functions with services provided by the Federal Reserve. They pointed to a 2020 paper that she had written about the ways the Fed could use its own digital currency with central bankers that had already begun to consider creating. As comptroller, she would have had to coordinate with bank regulators at the Federal Reserve, but would not have the authority to make changes to the banking system's structure, dummy. Some lobbyists, including the incoming chairman of a group representing community bankers, and the chief executive of another group that focuses on big banks, also shared a Wall Street Journal editorial suggesting that Ms. Omarova's Soviet childhood meant she couldn't be trusted. Now, I will tell you, I read that Wall Street Journal, and it is her childhood in the Soviet Union that made me go, can we trust her? She wasn't playing with Lincoln logs. They weren't talking about Lincoln over in the Soviet Union. Can we trust her? Because she wasn't playing with a chatty Cathy doll. Oh, no. No. It was a Soviet doll. This is the craziest things I've ever heard. Republicans in Congress mimic the lobbyist criticism, saying Ms. Omarova's academic work and her Soviet origins should disqualify her. Yeah, her academic work should have. In an exchange that drew gasps from Democrats during Ms. Omarova's hearing before the Senate Banking Committee, Senator John Kennedy, Republican of Louisiana, demanded that he know whether or not Ms. Omarova had ever resigned from a communist youth group that Soviet children were forced to join. I don't know whether to call you professor or comrade, he said. But the Republican opposition would not have mattered had Senate Democrats been united in favor of Ms. Omarova. Her nomination was ultimately doomed by a lack of support from moderates, making her the Biden administration's third high-profile nominee to bow out. Okay, let me ask you this. If your problem came from your Democratic moderates, then she probably isn't a moderate to most Democrats, because you only have a few moderates left that you haven't taken out back and shot in the head. And if it was those moderates, it's really not the xenophobic, crazed callings and catcalls from Republicans. It is really, truly, you don't like a moderate candidate. Every candidate you're putting up is saying crazy things like we should close all of the banks and there should only be one bank, the Fed. And the Fed will just open up accounts for everybody. and all of the loans and everything can be done by the Federal Reserve. That doesn't sound like a very American idea. And if that is the new America, then I don't want any part of that. And yes, I will fight against a bank monopoly held by our federal government, or worse yet, 5 private corporations that kind of pose as government. Christmas season is such a great time of the year, and with friends and family coming over to your home, it is the best time of the year to deck out your house. Why stop at the seasonal decor? You know what I'm saying? If you haven't been to Blinds.com yet, now is the time to get those new window treatments. With prices cut up to 35% site-wide, Blinds.com can make your dream home a reality. And updating the window treatments may seem like a small home improvement, but trust me, it makes a huge difference. Upgrade one room or your whole house with huge savings on premium blinds, stylish shades, interior shutters, and a whole lot more. You'll never find any misleading quotes or hidden fees. That's why Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. They've got over 40,000 5-star reviews. So whether you do it yourself or let them handle the situation, you can just call them. The design consultants are always available to help, and they're free. Blinds.com. Save up to 35% off everything site-wide right now. Blinds.com. 35% off. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply. 10 seconds. Station ID. Glenn Beck and Kyle Rittenhouse go one-on-one. Tonight, the real villain of the Rittenhouse story. I actually talked to him, did this interview yesterday. It's going to air tonight. We'll play some clips here in a minute. He's a fascinating guy, and I don't think the guy everybody thinks he is. Everybody thinks he's some sort of a conservative crusader. He's not. He's not. He's a kid. And I think a really decent, nice kid. But he is a kid, nonetheless. And I said to him, has justice been served? And he said, yes. I don't think it has.
Yeah, I disagree with him on that point. Yeah. He should have never been charged. And until that sort of stuff is rectified and what happened to him in the media is rectified.
I said, so they didn't get you, okay? So you were found not guilty. So justice has been served there. But they're still calling you a racist white supremacist. They're still doing it. The press that ginned this whole thing up, until there's justice there won't be justice. Until there's justice with this out-of-control prosecutor, that thing should have never come to court. Never. Should have never gone to court. And yet it did. Why? Because the prosecutor is either somebody who just cares about, his approval ratings, or was doing it because the mob said, but it had nothing to do with justice. And that should be corrected. That's when justice will be served.
And we should also point out the only reason he was able to do this interview with you not in a jail cell is because of conservative media members who risked their lives to film the footage and luckily caught it all, because without that, he'd be in prison for the next 50 years or more.
Yeah, I talked to him about that. Without the video coverage of the event and the video coverage in the trial, do you think you'd be free? Here is answer tonight. Kyle Rittenhouse, one-on-one with me, the real villain of the Rittenhouse story. Tonight, 9 p.m., blazetv.com.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Holidays are finally here. Christmas is right around the corner. And if you're planning to cook some big meals when your friends and family are over, trust me when I say you are going to want a RecTech. It is great. It's just the best. Whether it's smoking, grilling, or baking, the RecTech is the way to go. Now, you can't take your turkey and put it in the hot oils, and cause some horrible fire where everybody ends up in the hospital. But everything else you can do with your RecTech. Ever since we got one in my home, we have been exploring. Tanya's going to make pizza in the RecTech. It does everything, and everything comes out perfect because it has smart grill technology. Order your grill. It makes a great holiday gift. Order your grill for the holidays now. Rectech, RECTEQ.com. Rectech with a Q, RECTEQ.com. It is a great griller, smoker, and even baker. Rectech.com. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. It is the holiday season, and it is time to spend time with your family and friends and reconnect with the things that are important. And we need to reconnect. It's been, we're going on 2 years of lockdown madness in some states, and we feel further from our family and our friends than I think we ever have. I just spent some time with a friend of mine. Went over to their house and I said, "How long has it been?" 2 years. I mean, these 2 years have just disappeared on us. Use the time to reconnect and reconnect with the real values. There's a book out called Life on Christmas Eve. It's a novel. I told you about it before. And it is a book written by one of my writers, the guy who, I have 2 writers and researchers that are, that's their primary, only real job, is to write the Wednesday night specials. And Nathan Nipper is one of them. And he takes 2 weeks to write one of those specials. I do them every week, but these writers need to skip every other one or something. But so Nathan is one of the guys who writes, and if you've ever watched any of our specials and thought, wow, that was really important, he's one of the guys responsible for it. And he's written a book, Life on Christmas Eve, which has been in the works for how long?
I mean, as a story, over 10 years.
Yeah, how did you find the time to write? Because I work you to the bone.
Yeah.
How did you find time to write this?
I wouldn't have. I actually wrote the first draft of that 6 years ago and just sort of tinkered with it, over the ensuing 6 years. Very slow. I'm a slow writer. You may have noticed.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Not true.
So, first draft was over 6 years ago, and then it's just been tinkering with it.
Tell the story quickly. Now, let me tell you this, because he's a really humble guy, and he's not going to say, as I told you the last time he was on, he'll never bring this up, but he has 3 kids, and they were born without faces. And so he wrote this book to be able to, this is why I ask you to go to Amazon.com right now and get the book, Life on Christmas Eve, so he can get the surgeries needed for his children to have faces. I understand you got eyebrows.
We had to start there.
Right.
You got to start somewhere.
Right. But you only got 3 eyebrows.
Yes.
Instead of the full 6.
It's true. It's rare.
Yeah.
To have that problem.
And it's weird to start with the eyebrows before the eyes. But anyway, go ahead and tell me about Life on Christmas Eve. What's the
Sure. Yeah. Life on Christmas Eve is about a 31-year-old small-town woman who finally watches It's a Wonderful Life for the very first time. And shortly after she does, she starts to notice some unusual, weird similarities between a few things that happened to her and things that happened in the movie. And so her journey to sort of figure out why these things might be happening leads her to an encounter with a mysterious stranger, we'll say, on Christmas Eve.
Now, do you mention the pandas that you saved?
Don't believe
see, he's being very humble. Nathan is responsible, really single-handedly, for getting pandas taken off of the endangered species list. He's big on pandas. So you might say he's a conservative, writes for Glenn Beck, but he is really big into pandas. And this book has nothing to do with that. But I just thought maybe if you like pandas, you might think, you know what? What's a few bucks going his way for his kids? And I also like pandas. And it's a good book, Life on Christmas Eve. So would I see this on Hallmark?
Believe it or not, as heartwarming as this book is,
it's a
little dark, honestly, for them. Probably in a couple spots.
Yeah.
So,
but I also, because I've read the book, it also isn't. Now, I could be really harsh. I don't mean to be so harsh because maybe it's just me, but not quite as formulaic as movies on Hallmark are.
Well, I appreciate that. I was sort of trying for that.
Yeah, you were trying
if you're
for the
gonna-
non-formulaic Christmas.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it works for Hallmark. It does. But gosh darn it, those movies are so surprising.
Even
the end of each one.
My 14-year-old son, the other night, Hallmark Channel is on, and I'm barely paying attention to it. And he actually said, it seems like they really go for quantity over quality.
No.
Just out of the blue. And I thought
Now,
that
it's
was
weird
spot on.
because your son without eyes or a mouth was watching Hallmark.
Well,
and
you can
said
hear
that.
it and discern a lot.
Oh, okay.
From another
Okay.
room.
All
So
right.
they do have ears.
Yes.
I mean, that's something you probably should have disclosed.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who
You're
are like,
trying to
"Man,
get
gosh," and they don't
sympathy
even-
or something. What are you trying to do here?
Well, we have to be able to communicate.
Hey, let's not talk down to him. He is, I don't know if you know this, Stu, but he is the guy who, you remember those Chilean miners that were trapped?
Yeah.
He dug them out by hand.
Really?
Yeah. He's going to deny that, but that's how humble he is.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah. Humility is really his big deal.
You're sort of like the Forrest Gump of our generation.
It's like that.
Wow.
And wouldn't you like to own the book written by our real Forrest Gump?
Real life Forrest Gump. And my understanding is correct. That movie was based on the life of Nathan Nipper.
Nathan Nipper, The Life on Christmas Eve, a novel, and you can get it at Amazon or bookstores anywhere. Last time, they ran out of books.
They did.
They did
Yeah.
run out of books. Do you have books now this time?
Yes, but I mean, they actually had to do for Amazon an emergency paperback edition. Like,
Really?
I think the hard copies are almost gone as well
Wow.
for hardcover. So,
Well, you know what I don't like about hardcovers?
What's that?
Well, the hardcovers bring flashbacks of the Unabomber to mind.
Really?
Yeah.
That's random.
I don't understand
And, well,
why.
it's a weird thing. I was reading a book when I heard about the first explosion, and
Okay.
so it is. They give me the willies a little bit. I like soft covers better. But do you know that
How'd they
he's the
catch
guy?
that guy?
Nathan. Nathan was the guy. He was the neighbor of the first bomb, and he was like, "That seems weird." That guy in that sweatshirt, and he drew up. Remember that sketch?
I remember the sketch.
Yeah, he drew it up himself.
So you're an artist as
A
well.
crime artist.
I've been known to draw here and
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, a
Wow.
little bit here and there.
So how many times has Nathan saved your life? I think that's a question as an audience member you need to ask yourself.
And what have you done to thank him? Have you thought about buying Life on Christmas Eve?
That's one way to do it.
I think it's probably the most important way you could. Everything else seems a little shallow. Life, I mean, he's responsible for the moon land. Well, I'm not going to get into it because it makes him uncomfortable. But Life on Christmas Eve by Nathan Nipper. It's a great holiday read. You can get it everywhere, wherever books are sold. I mean, probably not porn shops.
That's true.
And they don't sell books.
I don't know if they sell books. Do they sell books, Nathan?
I do not know.
Nathan owns a giant chain of porn shops across the country. That one's probably not helping, right?
He was the first guy to actually develop a porn shop.
No, it's true.
So anyway,
I could say definitely that is not
That's
true.
definitely not true. Life on Christmas Eve. Pick this up at Amazon right now, or we will come back and talk to you more about the things that Nathan has done that should make you want to buy this book. Beyond, it's a really good book. Life on Christmas Eve by Nathan Nipper. I'm waiting until you get online. Still waiting. Here's another great book that you have to have under the Christmas tree for this season. If you are a parent or a grandparent, you have anybody in your life, and honestly, some of these are kids books, but young adult and adult books as well. Don't get excited, Nathan. The Tuttle twins explain how our economy works. It explains how our republic works, why freedom is so important. These are the books that will prevent your kids from being brainwashed in school. It is really hard because most of us don't know how to teach these things. It's a growing library of resources now from the Tuttle twins. They have toddlers and children's books that explore the principles of freedom using stories and pictures. They have a free market curriculum with lessons that explore how free markets work, so your kids can understand supply and demand and inflation. Your kid will understand inflation, quite honestly, better than the Fed will after you read the Tuttle Twins books. Giving these books and curriculum is great for your kids and grandkids, but honestly, it's good for anybody who reads them, and it is essential if we want to save our country. We must know these principles. TuttleTwinsBeck.com. Get the books and the curriculum for all the kids and teenagers in your life. Holiday discount of 40%. Get the workbooks for free. Give your kids and your country the gift of liberty. It's TuttleTwinsBeck.com. Coming up in just a second, we're going to get into the Kyle Rittenhouse special that airs tonight at 9 p.m. on Blaze TV. You can watch it at 9:30 Eastern on youtube.com/Blaze TV. But please become a member and join us at Blaze TV. There's so many great reasons to do it. One of which is we work really, really hard to bring you relevant information and information that you're not going to find everywhere else, and a point of view that you're not going to find everywhere else. And if you find anything that we do, that you get for free of value, join us. Become a member of the family and join us. Help build the network of tomorrow. BlazeTV.com/Glenn.
You have a special with Kyle Rittenhouse on tonight.
Yeah.
9 p.m. Eastern, right after a brand new Stu Does America.
Wow.
And in that special, you talk to Kyle about how his entire experience, and you think back to that incident. We just mentioned it. The only reason he's not in prison is because there were conservative journalists, including Blaze TV's own Elijah Schaffer, who was there.
I think Elijah was
incredibly key.
Incredibly key. He was the first. He was the guy who did the only interview with Kyle on the street
before the shooting.
Before the shooting,
yeah, and put a different picture. I mean, when you first saw the video, even of the actual incident, it was of course being reported that he was a white supremacist and he was gun crazy. It was Elijah's interview that really turned that narrative around initially.
For instance, here's the interview. Listen.
This is the buddy's business. What are you guys doing out here?
We're protecting from the citizens, and I just got pepper sprayed by a person in the crowd.
So you had non-lethal, but you didn't respond.
We don't have non-lethal.
So you guys are full on ready to defend the property?
Yes, we are. Now, if I can ask, can you guys step back? Medical, EMS right here. I'm an EMT.
Is that clip partially, and some other stuff that was shot by Elijah and others, mainly in conservative media, was able to show. I mean, you see he's leaving this interview, this guy who all he wants is attention for his white supremacy, leaving the interview to give medical attention to Black Lives Matter protesters.
And and they attacked him. And Elijah said, "You have a weapon," and Kyle says, "Yeah, but I don't have non-lethal." So in other words, they can do whatever they want, but unless my life is in jeopardy, I'm not using it because I have only lethal weapons. That shows he's in control of himself and his weapon, and he's not itching for a fight.
Yeah. And I will say, as you're pitching people, around the holidays here to think about supporting Blaze TV, a lot of this stuff has happened this year. I mean, think of all the things that have been exposed. Think about all the stuff that we went through with Afghanistan, the coverage that we had there, not to mention your own charitable efforts to actually remove people from Afghanistan that were American citizens and Christians in danger. But I mean, all of these things, I think, work together in some way. And while I think you get really fantastic shows like Stu Does America on this network, you also get, I think, the ability to be part of something that is bigger than that. The pushback on the Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist narrative came solely from places like Blaze TV and other conservative outlets that didn't back down immediately when everyone was calling him a white supremacist. We didn't say, we know he's not. We just said, where's the evidence for this claim? Can you prove this? Wait a minute, we're seeing the video. Where's the evidence that he was targeting people all over the place? He's running away from them. And that sort of stuff was only covered by conservative media for a very long time, and I think...
And still kind of is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we are making an impact, and I say we, not meaning just the Blaze, I mean conservative media. They are terrified of us. They're terrified. If they could shut us down today, they would. but they know they can't. Now, does that mean they're not going to? No, I think they're going to. I think that's a matter of time and to see what happens. But the conservative movement is growing stronger and stronger. And I can't even say it's conservative movement. The common sense movement. I'm a conservative, but I'm also a common sense guy. And I can live next door to people who have wildly different views than me. But I believe in the Bill of Rights. And that's my movement, is the Bill of Rights. The rights of free people to remain free. We can disagree on policies all you want, but not on the rights. And look at what's happening. They are they're skewing the mainstream media. I don't know if you saw this about the White House having a briefing, several briefings with all of the main anchors and the main news groups to talk about their coverage of the White House and the economy and COVID. Those guys are that's all propaganda. That's all that is. And the American people know it. I mean, did you see Bill de Blasio, yesterday said he was going to make vaccines mandatory for everybody in New York? Yesterday, it was the city council, wasn't it, that said, no, we're not going to do that.
The courts shut it down today, yeah.
Okay. So the courts did it. The courts have been speaking loudly on this, but it looks like they're even losing support from Democrats now in the House and the Senate on the vaccine mandates. They're not even going to get enough Democrats to go on that. That's because you've been allowed to hear another side and not feel so alone. You're not alone. And millions of Americans who may vote differently than you do agree and are starting to wake up. And that's a great thing and a great reason to become part of our team at blazetv.com/Glenn. blazetv.com/Glenn. Use the promo code Glenn20.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Hey there, welcome back to the 4-Minute Buzz. I'm Hillary, and here's some fun news for you. You know, Christmas, it's only a few weeks away, so if you are still searching for presents for that person who has it all, or maybe the supply chain has got you down, here is an option. Just in time for Christmas, KFC has released a line of festive pajamas. Or about as festive as a fried chicken company can get. The red and white pajamas, they feature a monogram pattern of gravy boats and text on the pocket that reads, "It's all gravy." Now, that's no surprise since the pajamas also coincide with the return of KFC's Gravy Burger Box Meal. And if the pajamas aren't enough, you can also get a matching robe, which can be personalized with your name. So, don't say you have no idea what to get that special someone. You're welcome. Now here's a recap of today's top stories. Yesterday, President Biden held a 2-hour-long video call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And while we still don't know all the details of the call, the White House elaborated on some of it. The call took place after tensions flared up between Russia and Ukraine, and rumors spread that Russia could invade. According to White House officials, Biden reiterated his support for Ukraine's sovereignty, and he warned Putin that, quote, "the things we did not do in 2014 when Russia invaded Crimea, we are prepared to do now." Specifically, a White House statement mentioned, quote, strong economic and other measures in the event of military escalation. So will Russia invade Ukraine? Well, here's what National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told the press.
Their assessment so far was that Putin had not made a decision over whether to invade Ukraine. So did President Biden get clarity from him on whether or not that is his intention?
We still do not believe that President Putin has made a decision. What President Biden did today was lay out very clearly the consequences if he chooses to move. He also laid out an alternative path that is fundamentally in keeping with the basic principles and propositions that have guided America in the Euro-Atlantic area for the past 70 years. And ultimately, we will see in the days ahead through actions, not through words, what course of action Russia chooses to take.
And the White House is reportedly preparing a contingency plan to evacuate American citizens from Ukraine if Russia does invade. But after the disaster in Afghanistan, many want to know, would things be different this time? Well, here's how Press Secretary Jen Psaki put it.
Are there any lessons that were learned during the mass evacuation in Afghanistan that are already being heeded this time around as you begin contingency planning?
I think it's really important for people not to compare the two. I mean, you can ask any question you want, but Afghanistan was a war zone. We were at war for 20 years. What we're talking about here is a situation we are trying to work to de-escalate and move towards a diplomatic path, but it is not a comparable situation in our view.
And closing arguments begin today in actor Jussie Smollett's hate crime hoax trial. Smollett spoke in his own defense yesterday and claimed that the attack against him back in 2019 was real and the brothers who carried it out had other motives. But prosecutors argued that Smollett planned out the attack and lied to the police about it to garner sympathetic media coverage. The jury is set to begin deliberations after the closing arguments are made. And in some COVID news, another federal judge has dealt a blow to President Biden's vaccine mandate. As part of Biden's plan, all federal contractors would be required to mandate that their employees get vaccinated starting on January 4th. This would apply to nearly a quarter of the U.S. workforce, but a federal judge in Georgia blocked the mandate in response to a lawsuit from the state. I'm Hillary. That's your 4-Minute Buzz. Here's Glenn and Stu with one more hour.
Thank you so much, Hillary. Last hour of the broadcast today, and it's brought to you in part by RecTech. Literally only a couple of weeks away from Christmas. And I know what you're thinking. How am I going to cook all that food to absolute perfection? I have the answer for you. It is RecTech. RecTech. It comes with a sensor that makes sure that everything is perfect. It's a smart grill app, and you can put this sensor into the food, and you can watch it on your phone. You can control the entire thing. It actually adjusts if there's like a cold wave. It'll adjust the temperature inside, or if you open the door of it, it adjusts the temperature to make sure that it's always cooking perfectly, and it lets you know when it is done. It makes a great Christmas gift. It's great for cooking anything. Order your grill for the holidays today. Go to recteq.com, 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 RECTEQ. All right, final hour of the program coming up in just a second. Stand by.
15 seconds.
What you are about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Yeah, you sick, twisted freak. Welcome to the program. It is Wednesday. Tonight at 9 p.m., Kyle Rittenhouse. We're going to play some of the clips for you in 60 seconds.
Glenn Beck Program.
If you've been keeping track of the airlines recently, you know that flying pretty much anywhere for Christmas is going to cost you an arm and a leg. You might be thinking to yourself, why not drive? Great idea, as long as you don't have a breakdown and if your warranty is not out of date. Remember the arm and leg we were just talking about? For a covered repair right now with your car, CarShield is a lifesaver. Not only do they offer the coast-to-coast roadside assistance, but they're going to deal personally with the mechanic of your choice to get it fixed. So you bring it into the dealership or wherever you want to bring it, and they deal with the mechanic. They take care of the bill. You're not waiting for them to reimburse you. You also will get your service done and a rental car while yours is in the shop. That could be a huge amount of time. I don't think people are even thinking about this. A huge amount of time of your car being in the shop if they can't get the right parts. They will save you thousands of dollars. CarShield, the best defense against costly repairs that'll put your plans and your finances into a deep freeze. Call carshield.com/Beck now. Save 10%. carshield.com/Beck. Deductible may apply. I went shopping yesterday for my wife, and really couldn't find anything. Not because I didn't know what to get her, just because nothing was. And the mall was sad. It really was.
Really?
Sad. Like a lot of the stores closed. And I mean, I went to, what is it, North Park? It's a
mall in Dallas.
Yeah, big mall in Dallas. Closed. A lot of it is closed. Strangely, the parking lots were still absolutely packed.
That could just be like a universal law. It has nothing to do with how many people are shopping.
Yeah.
You just can't get close to a mall on Christmas.
And God help me, I went shoe shopping for my wife. And yeah. I didn't get any, but I went in. Have you ever done any shoe shopping at Nordstrom's?
I don't think I have.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. There are more salespeople than there are cars in the parking lot. Yeah, like every 2 steps you take. Have you been helped? Yes, I've been helped.
Maybe that's where all the employees are.
Maybe.
It's not a shortage.
I mean,
They're just
there
all
was
working at the
no
same store.
shortage in the shoe department at Nordstrom. Zero shortage. There were too many people that were there, but it was very delightful. And
it does feel like the worst case scenario pre-Christmas has not come to fruition. Is that safe to say?
That you can't get anything?
You can't get anything. The stores are bare.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd say that.
At this point, if you have kids, which I do, you've probably done a good chunk of your Christmas shopping.
Yeah, no.
You haven't done a good chunk of your. Well, I mean, a responsible parent by this time.
Yeah,
has
or
done,
a responsible grandparent. No. Don't hit either of those.
But like I went to. I'm not saying you're completely done with it, but you've probably purchased things. We've gone through some stuff for the kids and been able to find it. It's
you haven't done a darn thing. Not.
I was at the mall this weekend. It was very crowded. The stores still seem to have stuff in them.
Yeah.
It's not like you're not getting the Venezuela possibilities that we were really hoping that we wouldn't get. Now, that doesn't mean it's not around the corner. And certain things. We have had those types of problems.
I found yesterday, and this was just for the things I was looking for. I wasn't for kids. If you're expecting something to be in the back room, no, it's not going to be in the back room. No. It's not like, I don't know. We had these big, magical ideas that there's this big storehouse that you have this in purple and pink polka dot?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I got that in the back. No.
Right. Like it's interesting, we're seeing more problems, I feel like, with things that are more important to your day-to-day life, like certain items, construction supplies, certain foods, certain, things like that have been harder to find than maybe a normal Christmas present. That's not a good thing for the economy and civilization generally, but maybe it doesn't ruin your kids' Christmas.
I mean, sure, you can't get the turkey.
Right.
But you have toys under the tree.
They did, again, I think we talked about this a little bit around Thanksgiving, but they do have big turkeys, not small ones.
What an American problem to have.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't have?
Oh, this might have been, you were off that week. That's right.
I have an update on something else. Remind me. Go ahead.
So the issue with the turkeys was that they didn't have a lot of small ones. The reason for that is because last year, there was a lot of holiday celebrations that didn't happen because of COVID.
So not a lot of turkeys lost their lives.
Those turkeys lived an extra year and grew really big. So it was really hard to find the small ones this year, but easier to find the large turkeys. So, I mean, again, that's not the worst problem to have. But again, that is annoying. You're spending a lot more money on turkey you don't need. So that is an issue.
There's I just thought of turkeys because we did make a very small turkey this year at home, and that's unusual for us. But I told you we got the stove that we waited a year for. Mm-hmm. It won't fit anything but a small turkey. I mean, because we couldn't look at it because they didn't have one, and so we just assumed it's a big stove, so it'll have no, it doesn't.
So the one you waited all this time for?
Sucks.
It's the wrong size?
Well, no, it's not the wrong size. It's the size they make, I guess. And they changed the model, and it's not quite as big on the interior.
Why do I get
bigger on the exterior, smaller on the interior, which is
something I need to examine about myself. I don't know why I get so excited when these things happen to you. Like, I can't help but smile.
I took a picture for you, actually, yesterday.
Really?
I got home yesterday, and I walk into the kitchen, and it's all taped up with plastic, and you have to, like, go through a maze of plastic. And I thought to myself, I got to take a picture of this for Stu, because 2 weeks. It'll be done in 2 weeks. So
you're never going to have your house is never going to be done.
Never going to be done. It's going to be like that Winchester house. You know, that in California that just went on and on and on.
Yeah.
You know, because the lady thought, Winchester, my family has caused so many deaths. If the hammering stops, the ghost will come and drag me into hell.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was dragged into hell, but the hammering never stopped. And so they just kept building the house. Mine's not going to get any bigger. It's just never going to get done. Just never be done.
And this is going to go on. I mean, now what they're saying...
You don't need to...
Well, first of all, your home is going to never be repaired. And then that will also go to the end of 2023. But they're saying the inflation problems are looking at least into 2023 now, which doesn't seem that transitory to me.
No, and it doesn't seem good. We're at 6.2, and that's bogus. That's a bogus number. If you would
6.2% inflation?
Yeah, 6.2% inflation. That is an absolute bogus number. If you actually looked at the rate of inflation, we're probably the way we used to measure it, not this newfangled, hey, what, gas, meat, food, clothing, doesn't count. Okay. If you measure it the way we've always measured it in the past, in the 90s, we would be at about 13% inflation. If we did it like we did in the 80s, we'd be almost at 15% inflation.
And when they looked, they did an index of a bunch of like key items for people, and it was something like 24%. And they're like, wages have risen 4% though.
Okay.
You should be fine. But that is really their argument. Wages are coming up too, and they have come up a little bit. I guess that's generally good. It seems, though,
not when prices continue to go up.
Well, I mean, it's good if your wages go up to chase those prices, I suppose. However, when it seems like the wages are mainly going up because not enough people are showing up to jobs.
Well, here's the thing.
There's a crunch on the labor supply.
The Fed just came out and said they're very concerned because now people have less savings than they've had in a very long time. Now, I told you over the summer, they were fine. They said, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine because Americans are spending like there's no tomorrow. Because they have more savings than they've had in a very long time. Well, as I said to you, that more savings, what the cash people had, that's because the government was giving them cash. And if you don't keep giving them cash, they're not going to have the cash to keep spending. And so now everybody's hitting the end of their savings, the end of their government bubbles.
Yeah.
And now people are going to be in real trouble.
The savings rates are coming down. They've been watching that really closely.
Yes.
Because, if you think about it, you're getting a bunch of free money from the government. This is not everybody, by the way. A lot of people this didn't happen to, but a lot of people got free money from the government and were scared to go outside and do things.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't spend on vacations. They didn't spend on anything. They didn't go to the movies. They didn't go out to dinner. They were basically at home and terrified about the future, so they were saving as much money as they could. So the savings rates through the pandemic were really solid. I mean, really solid for a bunch of sort of artificial reasons. You come out of the other side, people are now willing to go do things and spend money.
They tell you to spend, and then when you start spending, they tell you not to spend.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. It's insane. Here's the thing. People are going to start, if the government doesn't write another massive check to people, it will mean that soon people are going to have to go back to work. And once they go back to work, that will help unclog a lot of this stuff. Prices will go back to being somewhat normal. I mean, not normal, but they won't continue on this pace, I hope. If people start going back to work, we'll still have high inflation, but it won't be no end or no top of it in sight. We have to get back to work. It's so bizarre to live in America and see things closed, go into places and they don't have it. Things we're just not used to that. I went to McDonald's yesterday.
That's a stunning announcement. You
I
can't
know.
just break that to us like
I know. So my daughter and I, we went to McDonald's. I went for her, not for me.
Of course.
And we went to McDonald's, and there's a sign on it that says, we are serving a limited menu.
Yep, limited menu. And at least the one near where I live is only open for like a few hours a day inside, like only in the main hours.
Yeah.
So the drive-through stays open a little bit longer, but like if you want to go in, 9 o'clock at night, you can't. They're not even open because they don't have enough employees.
They didn't have soda. They didn't have soda.
Now I went there the other day with my kids, and they wanted to get ice cream, and they didn't have the machine. The machine was broken because it's McDonald's, and that's what happens at McDonald's. They're always broken. So that one I don't think has anything to do with the.
No, I've never noticed that. And
it's a very well known thing
for their ice cream
and shakes.
Yeah, okay.
Ice cream and shakes.
They don't really need a machine because it's not really ice cream. It's not. I mean, maybe it is now. Maybe they, maybe the cows said, enough is enough here. If you're going to take the milk, you got to at least make it in McDonald's with milk. I don't know, but I think it was like a. There might have been some nuclear energy used in those shake machines, so you can understand the meltdown.
The bottom line: this is America. I want it when I want it. Do you understand? I'm not going to live like Europe. Yeah. I'm not going to learn to love getting 3-week delays on things.
Right?
No.
This is the thing. Don't accept this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not anybody's fault. We're all in this together. But let's not lower our standards and go, well, that's just the way it is. Let's get back to work. Let's go find ways to beat this.
I'd be really interested to see you do some stuff on the anti-work movement. I did a little bit on it last night on my show. And
hang on, just... Oh, my God.
That's where we are.
You have to open another door. It's like Advent Day, Advent calendars every day. Open a door and, what's there? Anti-work
the anti-work movement.
We'll get to that here in just a second. First, let me tell you about Goldline. If you're one of the few people who haven't gotten the memo yet, the Fed is not your friend. These are the geniuses that brought us the crash of 2008. That was them. That was the big banks. Then they brought us TARP. That was the Fed. That was the big banks. Now we have this. Who was it that walked into the Oval Office when Donald Trump said, what do we do? It was the Fed. Close down the economy. Here's the plan. They're not your friend, and they're printing money. And as we were just talking about, inflation is going through the roof. If they continue to print money, there's no end to this. No end. Gold and silver are a hedge against excess and excessive inflation. Or worse, hyperinflation. I want you to call Goldline today to find out how to protect the money that you do have. This week only, Goldline is offering a free 2-ounce silver Maple Flex bar with qualifying purchase of $5 gold Indians. The Maple Flex bar is something I helped design with the Canadian Mint and Goldline. It's something that you can, put in your car or you can keep in your wallet. And if you're out someplace and things are crazy, this is a September 11th lesson, you'll have something that is worth some money to be able to get you wherever you need to go. And the $5 Indian coins are also the ones that I buy, and you can ask them why I buy them at 866-GOLDLINE. They're standing by for your call now, 866-GOLDLINE, 866-GOLDLINE or goldline.com. 10 seconds, station ID. You have your socks yet, little boy?
What's it?
You want socks from Blaze Media. I don't know. The elves will bring them. How do you get your socks from Blaze Media?
BlazeSocks.com.
That's a really clever, catchy. It doesn't work for me, but I know you'll remember it.
BlazeSocks.com.
BlazeSocks.com.
Yeah, check them out.
Yeah, they've got Go Brandon socks, which are very festive.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah, you can check it out there.
And also one with a naked butt and little poop emojis. that says, "Let's go, Brandon."
Apparently, no discount on those socks, by the way. 100% full price they want you to pay.
Yeah.
You have Glenn 20 on all the other merch, 20% off, not the socks. Screw you on the socks. You
Really?
buy them full price, you get nothing.
What? Well, you get socks.
Well, yeah, you
and
get
you
socks.
get to
you buy them full price or you get
can
nothing. What do you
explain
mean?
at Christmas.
How did I not explain that correctly? You buy them at full price or you get nothing. Those are your two options. Merry Christmas.
Wow, you're a Grinch. you get the honor of explaining why the naked butt and the poop emojis are on the Let's Go Brandon socks, one of the pairs.
Right.
And that's you get to say to your friend who, votes differently than you. You can say, "Oh, that's to honor Joe Biden, and his trip to meet the Pope."
That's what it is about, apparently.
Apparently. I didn't make the sock.
No. But you just support the message.
You can get them now at blazesocks.com. Okay. The anti-work movement.
Yes. So you may have heard this quote from Prince Harry. He was talking about there's another thing they call it is the Great Resignation.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Okay.
So this is going to come as a shock. I don't follow Prince Harry.
No, I didn't think you would necessarily know that.
Yeah.
But I thought it is an interesting cultural development, and it's Prince Harry took a beating because he said it's a sign of the Great Resignation. It is a sign that with self-awareness comes the need for change. Many people around the world have been stuck in jobs that didn't bring them joy, and now they're putting their mental health and happiness first. This is something to be celebrated.
You know what's really nice about that is, first world people get to do that.
I mean, really, in his case, above first world people. Like,
yeah.
He's literally a prince.
All right, yeah, people who are princes.
Yes.
They get to do that.
There
are lots of people that are stuck in just jobs that they shouldn't have. If you thought about being a member of parliament, it's awful. But you can find joy in your work too. A lot of people do. I do.
Yeah, of course. And so there's some positive message there, right? Like you should try to do something that you enjoy doing.
Or you could just focus on, this is the responsibility I have to feed my family.
Right, and that's why he kind of took a beating on this, and that like a prince who's married to Rachel from Suits is really going to tell us, hey,
Yeah, you're not exactly doing dirty jobs.
Exactly.
Right.
And who's going to do the dirty jobs other than Mike Rowe, who is a multimillionaire and still does them?
I would like to nominate Prince Charles.
There you go.
I would like to.
So who does those jobs if all we do is look for joy in our work? Sometimes work is hard. Sometimes you do your best to get what you can get out of it, but sometimes it's hard and sometimes you don't enjoy it. I mean, I do this show every day. So there's this movement, though, on the left that is saying, and it's kicked into high gear with the pandemic. Wait a minute. We sat at home for months and months and months and months and didn't work, and everything kind of turned out fine. We still got to we got to play Xbox at home all day. We didn't have to go to work. We got money from the government. Why don't we just continue this? And this has gone back. You remember from Obamacare, Glenn, Nancy Pelosi kind of famously said, what if you could enjoy to be an artist and a photographer, a musician. You shouldn't have to be stuck in a job to have health insurance. Well, now it's everything they want to move this to. And there's a whole movement called the anti-work movement. I'll give you a couple of the ideas of how they're talking. Working your whole life just to enjoy a few years when you're close to death is one of the biggest scams.
It is, because we're going to lose that. We're not going to get that.
Yeah,
Our generation is not going to see that.
I know this is the norm in America, but getting home at 6 p.m. and having 2 to 3 hours to yourself every night is the craziest crap ever.
Yeah, especially when you don't get the 2 or 3 hours to yourself because you got kids.
Sounds amazing. 2 to 3 hours to myself.
I would love that.
I would like that in a year, please. I'm not jealous of rich people because of the things they have. I'm jealous of rich people because they get to pursue their passions in life without having to work a grueling 40-hour work week just to get by.
Yeah, I know. I know a lot of people who are wealthy that work 80-hour work weeks.
Imagine a 40-hour work week. What would that even be like?
I don't know what that would be like.
Is it 3 days?
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
All right. Personally, I love eating vegetables. I love them. I could eat them morning, noon, and night.
You're known as Mr. Vegetable.
Yes.
Which is a weird title.
Between the workouts and whatnot, I've got vegetables. The problem is I'm contractually obligated to come on this program and pretend that I only like food that's bad for me, like candy bars. You know what I mean? So because I like broccoli, love it, I've found a happy medium. I can talk about a healthy protein bar that tastes like candy bars. Huh? Is that great? If you haven't tried Built Bars yet, you're missing out. They're made with 100% real chocolate. They taste like a candy bar. Also, high in protein and fiber, yet low in fat and carbs. Tasted other protein bars? Never taste a protein bar like Built ever. They are completely different. Built.com. Use the promo code BECK15 this holiday season. Snack on something healthy that's really good. BECK15. Get 15% off your order now. Promo code BECK15 at Built.com. So Kyle Rittenhouse has been in the studios for the last couple of days, and he was here Monday as a guest of Elijah Schaffer, who is joining us now. He's the Blaze TV host of Slightly Offensive and the co-host of You Are Here. You Are Here did the interview with Kyle on Monday, and that's because you've kind of become friends with Kyle.
Yeah, very good friends, actually. Yeah. It's been a friendship I never thought I needed, but after 2020, I need somebody who's gone through worse stuff, and
yeah.
He's at the top of the list.
Yeah, I think he's at the top of everybody's list right now. Let me play the first interaction that you had. You were there the night Kyle, right before the shooting happened. You did a quick interview with him. Here it is.
This is the buddy's business. What are you guys doing out here?
We're protecting from the citizens, and I just got pepper sprayed by a person in the crowd.
So you had non-lethal, but you didn't respond.
We don't have non-lethal.
So you guys are full on ready to defend the property?
Yes, we are. Now, if I can ask, can you guys step back? Medical, EMS right here. I'm an EMS.
So that's the first time, and I like the way you were, because you were doing the little the Camel soup can with a string on it, right? So you were talking into a can or something. Right?
How many masks did you have on at this point?
I was like, I actually had on one of the masks that work. It's a gas mask, military grade. So, I mean, that is thick, and that filter is huge, and I could barely hear myself through it. So,
so you were there. You knew. I mean, we talked to you, I think, the next day, or you were still there, and you said, no, this story is not what they're painting. It is. It is to be. He told me yesterday in the interview that we'll release tonight, he was in jail, or he went to the police. They took him downtown. They said, you better get an attorney, and his whole life changed. How did you stay in touch with him? Did you stay in touch with him?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning of the shooting that happened to the third one that happened, I knew that he was going to be painted as a white supremacist, because I knew that around the BLM movement, there was nothing but lies. And I knew that the victims at that time, which I called victims, were not black. And I knew that this was an altercation between rioters and another kid. And I knew the media was going to slander him. And I didn't know his politics. I didn't know what he believed. I mean, I didn't even know he was 17. I just went, I've got to get in contact with this guy, because he's got to know that people in the public know the true story. That someone that was there knows that he's innocent of murder, that this was a self-defense, clear-cut self-defense. I knew it that night. I witnessed it with my eyes. And so, I quickly found out who he had retained, got in contact with his legal team, quickly was able to talk to his mother. And, I was able to get information to and from him. And we've been FaceTiming for the last year or so, and just trying to keep his spirits high, praying together, laughing together. He likes to talk about girls, typical 18-year-old guy. Yeah. So just a normal kid.
Yeah, he is, and it you may not have felt the same way. But when I interviewed him yesterday, sitting across the table from him, he is a kid. I mean, it was like talking to my 17-year-old son. He's got the mindset of, he's not political. He doesn't want to be involved in, he's not some crusader. He's not a crusader. He thought at the time he wanted to be part of EMS. So he was going down to do that because that's what he wanted to do for life. And you say he talks about girls. He's a kid. He's an 18-year-old kid.
Legitimately. I mean, when we hung out, he just wanted to, again, talk about girls, play video games, and, just go eat steak. He didn't even know what ribeye was. I mean, this is an 18-year-old. He was like, I don't know what steak to order. And I was like, what 18-year-old knows the difference between prime rib, ribeye, and a tomahawk? He's like, what's Wagyu? I was like, you can get it if you want, bro. I'll buy you whatever you want. But I mean, this is definitely just some guy who was out there, and people say, well, how did he go out there with a gun if he was 17 or whatever? And you're just going to, bro, we've sent people to wars at that age too. Like, I mean, it is an age where a lot has been asked of young men. And yes, in the age, he is a young man and he has responsibilities. And he defended himself like a man would. But at heart, I can't believe that that's not the kid that I would have thought would have went out to defend property. Yeah. Because he's just so jovial, innocent, nice. He's the sweetest kid I know.
He's really a sweet kid.
It's like to my wife, he was just like, oh, it's so good to meet you. Gives her a hug and was like, I'm so happy to see you in person finally, because they had FaceTimed. And I feel, like I'm talking to my nephew.
Yeah.
I'm going, this is not a murderer. This is not a racist. What are they talking about?
When he was talking to me, he's going to go to Arizona State. He's going. And, they didn't want him on. They didn't even want him on virtual campus, let alone on campus. And he's just got this attitude of, they're going to say stuff to me. That's okay. I mean, I don't want to talk about politics. Talk about my dog. I'm just there for an education. He really thinks that. I think he thinks he's going to go back at some point soon to a normal life, and I don't see that happening. Do you?
You can't. Because life isn't normal. I mean, even for people that are still pretending like it is, you got to wake up. And if you're brought into the cultural war, if you're brought into the battles, I mean, at Arizona State, they had a protest against him, screaming over microphones to maybe 100 people about how they're letting a man on campus that killed 3 black and brown people. I mean, they don't even have his story correct.
No, so they were white.
The public doesn't even know what happened, and they don't care to correct that. Even if they lost their slander campaign on him to get him put into prison for murder, it was clearly self-defense, they still have the stronghold on the narrative that this is a white supremacist that killed black people that were in the name of...
It's the farthest thing from him.
But this is what the media does. They go, well, we have a loss here, but you know what? We're not going to retract the articles. We're going to leave the Google searches up, and it's still against Instagram's policy. He tried to put his name in his Instagram account because he's not a criminal. He didn't do anything wrong by the court of law. He tried to put his own name, Kyle Rittenhouse, in his name for his Instagram account, and it was against community standards. He can't. Apologies to all the Kyle Rittenhouses out there that exist.
Wow.
You can't use your name on social media.
You can't. What I find amazing is you can't post anything about him.
No. Because
you'll be violating. Tell the story.
Yeah, so obviously I'm connected to the trial, to the case. Facebook and Instagram knew that. They had started striking. This is early on. I was obviously one of the first people putting a lot of stuff up about this case. And they started first removing the posts, then they started blocking the posts, then they started contacting us, and then they said they were going to delete my account. So we reached out to them, and they made me delete everything off my page of Kyle Rittenhouse to keep the account up. And what was insane was I have other social media, so I just told everyone, go to this social media, go to my Telegram, go here if you want to see updates. I'm going to keep updating you, just they won't let me do it here. And so then They write us and they go to delete my account saying, oh, you have Kyle Rittenhouse propaganda or whatever on your account. And I'm like, wait, no, I deleted everything. There was an old story. If you're not familiar with Instagram, there's like a 24-hour post that you can post and it archives, quote unquote, into their hard drives. There was an old post from like 5 months ago that was only up for 24 hours that saved onto their hard drives. And they threatened again to delete my account versus a post from 5 months ago that wasn't even visible to the public unless I went back into their archives and had them delete it. Like, that's how insane they are. They had to go delete them off their hard drives, like off the archives of their servers in order to keep the account active. And I can't even post articles with his name. I have to blur out his name.
Still today.
Yes. They haven't changed their policy on my account. Other people can. I can't.
He's been found not guilty, and it's still wrong for Elijah to post anything about him. Like, hey, congratulations. Hey, look who's not guilty.
Not even a picture with him. I couldn't post a picture from I'm on an interview with him on YouTube. Can't even put a clip up.
I mean, you're talking about a journalist who actually conducted the first known interview, basically, of this entire story before the shooting, who can't discuss the shooting in the case. That's insanity.
But
Insanity.
that's their stronghold on the information. That's what you were saying about him. Can he go back to normal life? I just said,
no.
Dude, look, man, we don't live in a society of truth. And yes, the truth is you were acquitted. It was self-defense and you didn't do anything wrong by the court of law. And yes, that's the truth. Unfortunately, man, these institutions operate, I don't know, by the power of demons. Like, I don't know what to claim that they operate by, but I can tell you that their ultimate goal is disinformation. It's misinformation. I mean, I said, it does not matter. I go, even if I write that you were acquitted, I'll get fact checked and said missing context, he was acquitted, but some people think he's guilty.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, your opinion doesn't matter because that's what we have the justice system for. Okay. But it doesn't, I just told him, I go, justice is no longer by the court. It's by public opinion. And the evil powers at hand, the people at CNN, people at MSNBC, like Joy Reid, Rachel Maddow, I guess Cuomo's out, but Don Lemon. I mean, these people are not going to come to your side. They're not going to retract.
They should be quaking in their boots. They should be moving their money into Bitcoin or someplace offshore because they're going to have it taken from them. Because I think this kid has the strongest case I've ever seen.
He's going to win.
He's going to win, and I think he's going to win big. And if they're not going, I told him, I'll invest in that. I don't want any money. I will invest in that because if you hit them hard enough, big enough, there's a chance they have to change or they'll collapse.
They need to be bankrupted, and I'm saying this because I don't believe in cancel culture and the idea of I don't want to come after people for making mistakes.
Right? I don't want to do it because I disagree with them.
Correct. I'm saying, you make a mistake, like somebody says something, they get it wrong. It's like, says a mean thing. Fine, apologize. The reason why this is bad, these people will not only not apologize, they double down on their disinformation.
Yes.
So it's like when they're asked to retract, like with Psaki, will you retract this? He said he's a white supremacist, just skirts around the question and just says, I'm not going to do it without having to say no. Just, I will not retract, will not apologize. It's like, look, then you deserve
But they're
justice.
also doubling down. They're doubling down on, for instance, all the stuff with Ukraine and President Trump. They're doubling down. They're saying that all of that stuff was real. The New York Times we have all the evidence now. They just wrote a story last week saying, nope, because of this, this, and this, we were right. I mean, they won't stop.
Do you know how crazy this is? So I Will Witt from PragerU, I share one of his posts about the Nuremberg Code, sort of being ignored in Europe. And I get fact checked. It says AP fact checks this as false. Okay, this is false.
They're changing the Nuremberg Code.
So I read it and it was like, look, the fact check goes, they never said that we're getting rid of the Nuremberg Code. What they said is the Nuremberg Code would prevent state-enforced vaccinations. But what the EU chief did say was that it's okay for states to ignore the Nuremberg Code and to have state-enforced vaccinations. She didn't mention the Nuremberg Code, but said that it's okay to do what violates it. But because she didn't say the word Nuremberg Code, we're going to fact check this as false. And I'm like, no, you just complicated it. Will Witt put into 160 words what you tried to explain in 3 pages to complicate it. You convoluted the truth with weird lies. And I'm like, no, if the EU, if the head of the EU is saying to states to violate the Nuremberg Code and to do whatever they want, medically speaking, then we are doing away with it. And it's like, false. We're not doing away with it. We're just ignoring it. It exists. We just won't read. We just won't read it anymore. It's like
it's kind of like the Bible. It's kind of
the Constitution.
The Constitution, the Bible. They're good at that.
It's still there. Nicolas Cage. You can still steal it. Declaration of Independence exists.
Elijah Schaffer, the host of Slightly Offensive on Blaze TV, also co-host of You Are Here on Blaze TV. You can follow him blazetv.com. You Are Here or YouTube.com. You Are Here daily. Elijah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you will see my interview with Kyle Rittenhouse tonight at 9 p.m. only on Blaze TV. Let's pretend for a moment that you made the grave error of, getting on public Wi-Fi without any sort of protection for your computer. And even if it was, just a few minutes, unbeknownst to you, some cyber criminal hacked in. Your information was being stolen, and now it's being sold on the dark web. Bad news, right? What are you going to do? When are you ever going to find out about that? Good news is, if you have LifeLock, one of the restoration specialists is already probably working on it to restore everything. It's really important to understand how cybercrime really does affect all of our lives. No one can prevent identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but you can keep what's yours with LifeLock by Norton. Join now and save up to 25% off your first year with promo code BECK. Call 1-800-LifeLock, 1-800-LifeLock, or LifeLock.com. Promo code BECK. Save 25%.
Our way of life is being transformed.
This pandemic has been god-awful for so many reasons.
And behind the lies of human and environmental protection is something far more sinister.
But it does present us with an opportunity.
I see the need for a great reset.
It's time to wake up. In his eye-opening new book, Glenn Beck details the Great Reset and how the American way of life will not survive. The Great Reset, Joe Biden and the Rise of 21st Century Fascism. Pre-order now on Amazon.com.
Here's a couple of things that tonight I really want you to see with Kyle Rittenhouse. Tonight at 9 o'clock, the real villain of the Rittenhouse story. You'll understand when you see it tonight at 9 p.m., an hour one-on-one with Kyle Rittenhouse. I talked to him about nightmares and what this means to him. You really get to know this kid. I also asked him about Joe Biden refusing to apologize. Has anybody from the media organizations, the president ever call you to apologize?
He hasn't, and I would like to sit down with the president and have a conversation with him and tell him the facts of what happened.
I don't expect that to happen, but it would be right for him to do it. Yeah, don't hold your breath on that one. I also asked him, this is cut 9, has anybody apologized? Listen to this. Has anybody from the media organizations, has anybody honest come to you and go, you know what? I really thought this, but I was watching that and I was wrong. I'm sorry.
I haven't noticed anything from the media, but Bill Ackman, a really great guy. I had a Zoom call with him the other day.
And who is he?
He does banking stuff.
Okay.
Out of New York.
Yeah, a hedge fund guy.
Yes.
Okay.
And he said, I watched the trial and I was wrong and I support you now. I'm sorry. And it was just a great phone call.
How amazing awesome. Is that? How amazing is that?
People don't do that anymore.
No. You'll be amazed at what comes out of this interview tonight. 9 p.m. only on blazetv.com/Glenn. Use the promo code Glenn and save.
It's the Glenn Beck Program.